Hello traders, this is Frank Paul from Forex Mentor recording this video for you on the afternoon where I live of Friday, October 11th, 2013, our latest weekend complimentary video presentation referencing the Forex News Breakout trading course and service recently released from forexmentor.com. By way of a very brief introduction, in case you don't know what this thing is all about, or at all interested, what have you, I thought I would mention what we're talking about here is an approach to trading news that primarily makes use of two types of chart patterns, which in turn are support resistance driven. Okay, so it's essentially a naked chart method for trading one of two types of technical pattern setups that we've documented in painstaking detail in the foundation course available to members of this service. These patterns, I have to stress, only materialize as a long-term average about 30% of the time in relation to the full slate or docket of potentially market-moving news items that come about each week. I have to manage expectation here in that sense. I don't want anybody to come away from this presentation thinking, oh, well, hey, great, he's giving me a way to trade every single news item. That is not the case. We have to be very, very judicious in how we approach news and whether we decide to even look for a trade on it at all. We explain how to do that in our course. It shouldn't be too difficult for you to determine whether you want to even trade a news item or not. Again, most news items do not specifically set up with the patterns that we teach here, but the ones that do generate some pretty strong results if you're able to make yourself available for those news items through the course of the week and month, etc. Okay, so only about 30% of all market moving news items set up with the patterns that we're looking for. But I think you need to take the attitude that those that don't are inherently much more risky. It's hard to know how to trade them, and the last thing you want to do is just flip a coin or guess. That's no way to trade at all. Our service includes a comprehensive online video course comprised of 12 detailed modules with a running time well over 6 hours. So everything that you could possibly want to know about trading the news with this particular methodology is there in detail for you. And we have available a resource-rich, constantly updating members-only online area, which provides regular updates relating to the current news environment. And there are various resources there for you. A weekly trade recap video instruction feature, a weekly chart of the week feature. We have a members-only blog that runs through news events of interest and even includes chart examples if any trade did set up on the news event. We have schedules, we have comprehensive performance tracking, which is more than just quantitative information saying when we got in and out of a trade. It's also providing very extensive qualitative, descriptive information to walk you through the details of a setup. So you don't have to sort of look at a chart and scratch your head wondering why we made the decision we did. It's all explained in detail, news item by news item, for the ones that we did actually attempt to trade on. If you'd like to find out more about us, the public information page is per the URL shown at top here, forexmentor.com/FX News Breakout/index.php. On that public page, we have a link in the top right-hand corner to a summary page version of our monthly performance tracking. Please keep in mind that the members only version is much more expansive and detailed. It includes separate tabs for each month, which breaks out the results for each individual news trade. But the high-level month-by-month one-page summary is available on the home page. And we also feature here an FAQ section. You can follow our Twitter feed, whether you're a member of the course and service or not. And the way to find us for that is via the Twitter handle shown here, @FX News Breakout. Beyond that, if you have any questions or comments about what this thing's all about, you can email me anytime directly via frank@forexmentor.com, or for whatever reason, if you'd prefer to contact Forex Mentor, you can do so via info@forexmentor.com, but any questions you would have would just simply be relayed to me anyway. So the more direct route is frank@forexmentor.com. Okay, what I'd like to do here is begin with a reference to the calendar page in the members area, and as I record this, we've already updated for next week. So we have just a sort of a brief screen capture here of the slate of news items for next week. But fortunately, what we do is include links for a 3-week rotating period. This week's schedule just repeats this one, last week's schedule, next week's schedule. Okay, so what I do now is I'll click this link to show you why it is we were prepared for potentially market moving news on the USD CAD pair today, Friday, October 11th. Click that link, and then you see that we've got listed here row 6 on the weekly schedule for Friday, October 11th, 12:30 p.m. GMT, 8:30 a.m. Eastern, i.e. New York time, news jurisdiction Canada, news event, employment situation, benchmark trade USD CAD. In our course, we explain the process for selecting which pair you will want to look at in regards to any given news item. So this is basically a paraphrased, edited version of the delineation of market moving news used at dailyfx.com. Instead of just absolutely burying ourselves in a bewildering barrage of news items, of which I guarantee you 90 to 95% of them, particularly those designated as low priority or even medium priority, instead of looking at all that, we just filter all that stuff out and look at these more significant news items. This is what we're going to focus our attention on. You know, you're just going to drive yourself bonkers if you expect a trade setup for every single news event that comes along, whether designated as high importance, medium importance, or low importance, and that would be quickly exhausting and demoralizing. So we need to be economical in our trading activities, in our time that we commit each week to this. So that's why we're winnowing out about 90% of all the scheduled news items, because what you'll see if you undertake the detailed analysis that we have done over time, the vast majority of those news events just don't produce a reaction. We really want to focus on the highly important ones that the market is waiting on eagerly. So that's that, and that takes us back to this new schedule page. I'll just mention as well that I referenced in last weekend's complimentary video that we were going to launch a new feature in the members area that is now up and running. It's this tab right here, FX News Metrics Databases. Click that link and it takes you to a page which gives you a listing of clickable links. Each and every one of those in blue pulls up an Excel spreadsheet database, Excel 97 to 2003 format, just to make it as widely as accessible as possible. And so what you do is you click the link of interest, and it'll bring up a spreadsheet showing multi-year trend data for the news event in question, which can be really handy if you're a news junkie and are very sensitive to and interested in trends in the fundamental analysis. Now, this is only a partial listing at this point in relation to the vision we have for this page. We're going to be adding databases continuously over time. In fact, just today, later this afternoon, I hope to add a couple of more employment situation related databases that are not here now. And then I think next week we'll probably start adding others for GDP, CPI, things like that. So this is an ever-expanding list of databases. It's not complete at this point by any means. However, the databases we do have available are updated each month, or whatever the reporting cycle is in question. Some are every 6 to 8 weeks, what have you. So that's updated constantly, and when there is an update made, we mention it in our Twitter feed. So here is CAD labor force survey. I'll click that open, and what I'll get, albeit on a different page, is something that looks like this, and I'll just get the right view. Now I can't fit the charts tab all on one screen capture, but you can see we've got here the date, the data, employment change. This is for Canada. So for today's release, October 11th, we had an employment change of plus 11,900. So that was some job growth, but it paled in comparison to the prior month's report, and it was less than consensus for a negative variance of 4,100. The unemployment rate is ticked down, but that's mostly due to a decline or decrease in the participation rate. Nonetheless, we have this information now going back to January 2008. So you can see the long-term trends, and you can see them also plotted here in visual form. So what we see, obviously, post-economic crisis, the unemployment rate in Canada has been trending down nicely over a long period of time. Okay, so that's not specifically necessary information to enable you to apply the news trading methodology that we describe here. In fact, it's actually almost contradictory, because we state very clearly in our foundation course, your goal as a news trader is not to pick up the actual newsprint and sit around analyzing it to determine whether you think a trade is there or not. By the time you've got it figured out, 50% of the time you're wrong, because the market is irrational with respect to news. It doesn't rally all the time on good news. Sometimes it does the opposite, vice versa. It's very much a technical issue that we're trying to combine with fundamentals. But this information is useful supplementary analysis if you want to expand your read of news even further. So that's available now. We mentioned it last weekend. It is available. It's part of your regular membership if you elect to choose one. And so that's it in terms of the members area. What I'd like to do now is just, without spending too terribly much time, I'd like to, at least in passing, reference a winning news trade on today's Canadian labor force or employment situation report. And I'm just going to gloss over a fair amount of detail here, but try to focus on the key elements. One thing that I was looking at with interest here is that on the daily chart for the USD CAD pair, personally, I was able to designate for myself the fact that the bounce up from this swing point low for September 19th was corrective. It's just such an anemic updraft, and if you had been watching the USD CAD pair any time during the month of October, very low ADR values, occasionally less than 50 pips, with a really sort of anemic go nowhere kind of flavor to this rally here. All these little dojis and spinny tops, what have you. That told me with a reasonable degree of certainty that this rise was corrective against what I would call a more decisive impulse wave down from the swing point high of August 23rd at 105.68 to the swing low for September 19th at 101.82. Now, what I'm talking about here is not specifically germane to the process that we suggest you use for a news trade. Okay, it's not specifically a high-level top-down technical analysis, but it was useful to me to see that if this was a correction, even heading into today's high, first of all, we were coming to a very significant round number handle of 104, and that dovetailed quite nicely with the 618 Fibonacci retracement level, all of which is to say in shorthand that the corrective rise from 101.82 looked like it was possibly approaching a top. I didn't know that that was going to be the case, but it certainly didn't hurt if my analysis was bearish, if I thought that there was a good reason to be looking on the short side here. This daily chart picture really did suggest the possibility, at least, of a nearby top forming. So there's that on the daily chart. I won't bother with the 4-hour. On the hourly chart, and I'm just going to draw a dashed vertical through the hourly bar. You can see all these horizontal lines. I hope that's not too bewildering. Just in case it is, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and delete them just to get a clearer picture here. I've drawn a dashed vertical line through here, 12 p.m. GMT. It ended up being a big spinning top on the hourly chart, but where spinning tops are usually seen as reversal bars, that's if they come at the end of a long leg down or up, and I'm not so sure I really saw that here. We had, if anything, a very low-level consolidation or corrective action. So I didn't see that spinny top as having too much significance. I'd be more interested in that type of reversal candle if it's coming at the end of a long run up or down, ending on support or resistance. But what was interesting to me here is that, look, here is this rejection wick swing point high for 3 a.m. on the 10th at not really a super compelling round number level, but my chart is picking it up anyway, 104.2. Okay, multiples of 20s and 50s are not as significant as hundreds, but sometimes they're significant nonetheless. This was more important here as marking that daily chart corrective top that we just talked about. And so price made a leg down here, which was significant because it broke to the downside these lows here. This was support on the way up. That support is broken now on the way down to a fresh low. More important than all of that is the fact that, again, heading into today's news juncture right here, you always want to suss out the support resistance environment. And I can see very clearly this level right here, this high for 6 p.m. October 9th. Okay, I just take and draw a horizontal line, and look what happens. It overlaps perfectly with this swing high. Price breaks above briefly, but then if we're designating a low-level corrective rally on the 15-minute chart heading into news, we're probably going to be proven right or wrong on a short trade if price goes not much higher than this resistance level. There are other levels too. We would note, for example, this one. And then, of course, 104, a round number handle. That's significant right there as well. Okay, so in the foundation course, we really talk about the importance as one of the preparation steps here to characterize market flow, if there is any, to really clearly designate support resistance as might pertain to a potential setup. So we had a high-level top on the daily chart in the background. We had a drive lower to a fresh low here, and yeah, fair enough, price is sort of bouncing around essentially within a range, but there's not a lot of reason to be specifically bullish here, not unless price breaks 104, breaks this level, I would suggest has to go above 104.20 if we're to throw away the idea that we're at a significant top reversal on the daily chart. So all of that provides some bearish foundation for, if I once again here get rid of the pivots, we don't really need them in this example. Okay, let's try to fit that all on one page. This is the 15-minute setup into news. Again, I've drawn a dashed vertical line through 12:30 p.m. GMT. And what we're doing with news, with the methodology we teach, is we're logging in an hour ahead of the designated event, and we know when to do that because we've got a schedule. We prepare ourselves ahead of time each weekend, making note of which events we're going to look at. So into news, we had very clearly an impulse wave down from 104.12 to 103.85. Price rallies, comes down, rallies again on the 15-minute bar immediately before news. And so after the open of this bar, it's quite reasonable to see the confluence of resistance comprising the round number handle at 104, the 61.8% Fibonacci retracement of this A to B move, which is at 104.02, And again, we had a level just a couple pips higher than that on the hourly chart. But within a range of not much more than about 5 or 6 pips, there's 3 different levels which suggest that this corrective bounce up from 10385 is either going to hit resistance into news and turn the corner and head down, or we're just going to get stopped out. Now, fortunately, we always use a tight 15 pip stop, and in relation to average profit well in excess of 50 pips on winning trades, that results in the kind of reward to risk performance which makes it not really a huge deal when we do get stopped out. News came out at 12:30, giving us a corrective top, a little bit of a short-lived tiny little spike up, and then immediately heads down. So coming down to as low as 10377, that allows us to trail the stop to break even. Price bounces up here a little bit, but not enough to trigger the break even stop, and then it's a pretty clear down move for the rest of the day with a limit exit at the round number handle of 103.50. And that's just because I personally didn't see a hugely compelling support target on the hourly chart. I mean, I might have missed something, I don't know, but I didn't really see anything that just screamed at me. So I said, well, generic limit exit, and that ought to do it. So good for 50 pips, risk of 15 pips, reward to risk in excess of 3 to 1. And that was a winning news trade for the USD CAD pair today. Hope all of this has given you a bit of an idea as to what we're all about in our approach to trading news. It's not indicator driven. We forswear indicators here because of the fact that even though sometimes they can correctly point us in the direction of a winning trade, it's just as likely that they're going to lag or be wrong, or by the time you get a clear signal, it's too late, because if you've tried to trade news, you know that sometimes the market can take off with just jaw-dropping speed, covering a distance of 100 pips in 15 minutes. If you're trying to grab a piece of a trade like that after the fact, all I can say is good luck. It's like trying to grab hold of a greased rocket. You know, it's just too hard. You want to prepare for the trade ahead of time, put yourself in ahead of time, and then look for an expected level of support or resistance to get you in on a limit entry. And that's what we were able to do here. So again, I hope this has been a helpful, useful example. If you've ever thought about news trading, wonder if it can be done, the answer is yes. It requires a technical approach, not one that's based on fundamental analysis. It's just by the time you complete your analysis, the trade's over. And we actively forswear indicators in favor of a kind of a more naked chart approach based on support resistance. And I'll leave it there. If you have any questions or comments, again, feel free to email us, info@forexmentor.com or frank@forexmentor.com. We'd be glad to hear from you, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Have a great weekend. If you're in the US or Canada, it's a holiday long weekend. That's why we won't be posting any updates on Monday next week, but we will be back at it Tuesday thereafter. Thanks again, and I hope we talk to you soon. Bye for now.